What is the place and position of the Christian Science nurse? Hi, I'm Dean Wolfe. I've learned in my years of practice that Christian Science nursing is not broadly understood. And I'm talking about even among fellow Christian Scientists. Thankfully, there's been a notable effort from the Christian Science Publishing Society to educate the field, beginning, though, later in the 20th century, which is about 75 years or more after Christian Science nursing was established. Articles written by Christian Science nurses about Christian Science nursing were, well, there were hardly any in the first decades of the 1900s. My impression after studying the early church periodicals was that emphasis was placed on merely recruiting church members to increase the ranks of staff Christian Science nurses in the large, hierarchically structured Christian Science nursing sanatoriums. My first lesson in Christian Science nursing arose spontaneously one afternoon when a family member, also a Christian Scientist, suddenly became ill. I was the only one around to help. This is before I became a Christian Science nurse. The experience was basically a revelation. It changed the course of my life. And the patient's healing came swiftly, by the way. Up to that point, I assumed Christian Science nursing was a depressing, unpleasant, non-metaphysical job based purely on physical caregiving. Well, what a revelation to glimpse that it was not only metaphysical and metaphysically demanding, but spiritually invigorating and uplifting work. I glimpsed a unique, holy, sacred partnership going on between myself, the impromptu Christian Science nurse, and two other individuals, the patient and the Christian Science practitioner. I discerned how success in this partnership was as dependent upon the quality of my own thought as it was the Christian Science practitioner's thought, even when it is they who took on the primary responsibility of giving the patient a Christian Science treatment. I was an equal, active participant in the metaphysical work being done in this case, as it also depended on the quality of my thinking. I could be no less working with the truth mentally than the practitioner was. I sensed that failure in this responsibility would weigh against the success of the ongoing healing work, and should, if it were the case, rightfully warrant the reprimand or even dismissal of a Christian Science nurse. So for me, this and other experiences taught me that the place of the Christian Science nurse is on par with the Christian Science practitioner and the patient. My place was one of active service and engagement in that sacred, temporary, professional relationship. In the pioneer days of Christian Science, before the bylaw for Christian Science nurse existed, some Christian Science practitioners and even teachers of Christian Science took patients into their own homes to provide nursing. So sometimes they could be up around the clock all night. This may not have been every Christian Scientist practitioner's cup of tea, but there are plenty of us Christian Scientists who, like me, enjoy being active. We enjoy activity and working with our hands, so to speak, who would prefer not always being tied down to a desk or an office, like a teacher of Christian Science or a Christian Science practitioner may be, although we do have offices, of course. And although Christian Science nurses have no less responsibility to be very metaphysically active, it's helpful to the practitioners when they can turn over the involving work of physically caring for the patient to a Christian Science nurse, trained in the art. As far as authoritative and legal documents are concerned, there is one single succinct bylaw in the church manual that outlines the whole substance of what Christian Science nursing is. The bylaw reads, quote, "A member of the Mother Church who represents himself or herself as a Christian Science nurse shall be one who has a demonstrable knowledge of Christian Science practice, who thoroughly understands the practical wisdom necessary in a sick room, and who can take proper care of the sick. The cards of such person may be inserted in the Christian Science Journal under the rules established by the publishers." End quote. The original vision for Christian Science nurses is that they be fundamentally indistinguishable from a Christian Science practitioner, and that they actively heal. Remember, demonstrable knowledge. Note, too, that nurse is a small n. Christian Science is the substance. of this role. Christian Science nurses should easily accept cases in the role of a Christian Science practitioner, perhaps between cases involving Christian Science nursing, because sometimes you're not always busy. They are self-governed, independent, represents himself or herself. The key thing that sets them apart is the additional ability to provide care in the sick room, can take proper care, understands the practical wisdom necessary in a sick room. So, Christian Science nurses are basically specialized Christian Science practitioners. This view can be confirmed by how different Christian Science nursing looked while Mary Baker Eddy was living. And we will explore that in future videos. Thank you for watching.